All right, I am going to start it here because it used to be sneaky where it'd give you like 10 seconds, but now it's right away. So,
Nice.
uh, welcome everybody to this excellent interview I get to do with my friend David York here. David and I have been working together for a very long time. So, we get to have a conversation today talking about the overall experience and really, an opportunity for folks who are listening to get to know David and know about his life, whatever he wants to share, his experience and what he's up to as well. So, David, anything that you want to just share to introduce yourself as we get started?
I guess a little background, right? I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, where it's hot and muggy. I've lived here for ooh, 30 years now. Holy cow. It's been a long time. So in the States, the United States, predominantly in finance is my background, along with psychology. So bring a very eclectic view to the workplace. Married, have one son who just turned 21 a short time ago. So that's an interesting path to have an adult son and watch him going through the journey of adulthood and figure out what his vision and purpose is and going from there. That's a little bit about me.
Awesome, awesome. And you always you mention how hot Phoenix is, and I know it's hot there,
It's
but
hot.
I mean it's a pretty awesome place to be. I imagine to live in.
It's not bad. Yeah, I'm originally from Michigan. So
Yeah.
summertime is like Michigan winters without the snow. So I get to watch all my Facebook friends that I went to high school with and grew up with shoveling their walks and being stuck inside because of the snow. And in my worst part of the year, I go outside for a little bit and jump in the pool. It
Hmm.
could be a lot worse, but three
Hmm.
or 4 months, not so great. Rest of the year, fantastic.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, really just starting us off, you started doing the coaching with me back in January of 2022.
Mm.
So, we've had some time together. And, you know, what what had you, come back for a second or even third round of coaching? What was sort of the thing that you're like, yeah, this is a structure that's going to support me in the next part of my journey.
Yeah, it was interesting. So I originally found you. I got some feedback from people that I worked with. Asked them for some candid feedback, and one of the things that kept showing up in that feedback was, he's great, he's too nice. And so I was really looking for supporting material around being nice. And then I discovered this whole concept of nice guy in Dr. Glover's book. And then I found your Facebook page, and I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, okay, I got a lot of those tendencies. And
Yep.
so that's how I originally reached out to you. And that was the original thing I wanted to focus on. I was very much focused on work. Like, okay, how do I not be a nice guy at work? And then through exploring um, how that showed up at work and how that showed up in other places in my life, we started working together. And I think what kept coming back to coaching is probably something that's not fantastic about me. Right? And we've talked about it before. Like I have a tendency, I call it like the hunker down. Like I will hunker down and go through a storm and I will keep going. And whatever it is that I want to get done, I will get done.
Hmm.
The difficult part is how do I want that journey to go? Which is something that we've worked on. Like who do I want to be and how do I want this to go for me while I'm going through this struggle. But I think that really helped in 2.5 years of coaching because things got really, really interesting as we began to peel back the layers of the onion and I started discovering new parts of myself, being aware of how I was being and other things that I wanted to do and vision and purpose and started peeling that back. That hunkering down or that tenacity to keep going, that was a great gift in the end because it did keep me going,
Hmm.
even when things got really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I could hunker down and go through it and keep going, even when the results weren't there, even when I wasn't willing to move forward, even when things were downright scary. I was like, nope, not going to go there. It kept me going there.
Yeah. Yeah, and can you share like the experience from, the beginning of the coaching? So like say the first 6 months to, what occurred afterwards. How, like, what did you just notice in that experience over time?
Yeah, that was really interesting. So the first 6 months were really cool, really exciting. There was a lot of action and results coming out of that. Like things were
Yeah.
changing dramatically. I was very excited. I was like, yeah, this is super cool. Things are moving, things are changing. My life's going in different directions. And I was really, really excited. And then I got to a point, and it was probably because things were getting, I mean, I was in brand new territory in a lot of these areas and
Mhm.
exploring new things. Things got difficult. And the experience for me was there was a lot of pushback, there was a lot of resistance, and it went really, really slow.
Mhm.
And it was all me. Right? I really struggled with doing taking action on my projects, keeping that vision, and just keeping it gauged. It
Mm.
felt like coaching sessions became another thing to do, and I
Yep.
stopped looking forward to it. Where I used to be really excited, there was that point to where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Like I'm just not seeing the results. I'm not, and it was all due to me. But that was my experience. Was I just want to quit this thing. Not into this anymore. Don't want to do it.
Mhm. Mhm. And then so okay, and what occurred from there? Because like you said, like you get to this point where you're like, hey, I'm ready to call it quits here, or maybe not quits, but like because you're not that type of person, but like, you know, that just what am I saying here? Like even that experience of like, okay, like I guess I got to kind of grind this thing out, till the end, right? What what occurred for you from that experience? Like, did you stay there? Did it
Mm.
shift? Like, what did you notice for yourself?
Yeah, there were little spurts, right, where it would get
Mm,
exciting again, and then I would go into that period again. I think the main thing was, well, one, you being a coach and observing from the outside, you were seeing it. You were
hmm.
noticing the patterns, and you brought it up, saying, "Here's what I'm observing." And so we got a chance to look at that together when I went through those periods of what is really going on, and going kind of deep into that, trying to figure out like why am I feeling this way, and why am I taking this path versus other paths, and then continue to explore that, and get connected again to what I really wanted. That was super important too, was keeping that vision in sight to say, remember where you want to go,
Hmm.
because I think I would lose track of that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, for sure. Um, no, it's absolutely. And what do I want to speak to next? I mean, well, I mean, one way of potentially just even looking at this from is like, how was the experience in coaching potentially either similar or different to the experience that you were having in of life during that time? Like, just yeah, I'll leave you with that. Did you notice anything?
Yeah, they're highly correlated.
Hmm.
Um, when I was excited about coaching, I noticed I was excited about life. Life was more fulfilling.
Hmm.
Um, I just had a better focus. And during those times where I wasn't excited about coaching, I was very
Yes.
much locked into still extremely productive, right? That's a core, is I'm gonna get stuff done and it's checked off the list, but that's where it ended. It was checking stuff off a list. The enjoyment of life, the connection with other people, just the overall fulfillment and flow of life
Hmm.
really correlated with how I felt with coaching.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what David's speaking to. I mean, that's sort of the interesting thing about a coaching experience is that in those first, well, however long it is, you could say 3 months, you could say 6 months, maybe even the first year. There's so much like just insight and experience that's being shifted through that time, that it's like it stays novel, it stays exciting. If you're playing for something, right? And then as
Yeah.
we keep going, well, the novelty might wear off, or the excitement might go away, or things kind of, just kind of, I wouldn't say they go back to normal, but like that's the humanity of it in that sense, right? And that's where, we really then get to the heart of the work, right? Okay, what are the breakthroughs in this place to be created?
Mm.
In the place where, when things aren't exciting, or they kind of seem like routine, how do we even create from this space? Because that's a powerful way of being able to create, when we're stepping outside of what's been exciting or new, or you know just different in our lives.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was interesting. I think that's when the biggest breakthroughs occurred,
Mm,
was during those times
yeah.
when I wasn't motivated it into it. Like, as you mentioned, going through that process actually created larger jumps. Like, they were fast,
Mm-hmm.
but looking back on it in the beginning, while it was all fast and changing quickly, there were little changes where
Yeah.
when I went through the really difficult period where I didn't want to do it anymore and I just didn't seem to be engaged, those were like the bigger leaps. Like, those were the bigger things that have led to life as it is now, looking
Yeah.
back.
That's excellent. I mean, and again, like, really testament to you in that, because um that oftentimes what I share with people is like the first 6 months of working together. Again, it could be 3 months, it could be 6 months, but it's like you're really building the foundation of the work that you're doing, right? So
Mm,
all of it is new, all of it is exciting,
yeah.
and like it's powerful in that, right? Like, but then like the real work starts after that, when it's like you understand the foundations of the work that's being done, you understand the tools, you understand even the flow of the coaching process, and how do we continue to create that life by design? How do we,
Yeah.
that type of thing? And so again, I just say it's a real testament to you, because um you played in the deep end.
Mm,
You were continually looking at, like, again, not just doing this work for 6 months or a year, but you did 2.5 years of this work, right? And it's like we explored a lot of different areas there, and that's powerful.
yeah. Yeah. And a lot of the same areas over and over
Yes.
again.
Yeah. And that's a part of it, right?
Yeah.
Is that again, it's that can be even for me, that shows up with my own coach, where it's like sometimes I'm like, I'm bringing this topic again, or
Mm,
here's this topic showing up again,
here it is
or some
again.
variation of it. But it's really that lens of like you're looking at it differently each time, even though it
Yes.
feels the same. You're coming at it with a new energy, a new way of approaching it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of like a staircase that circles, but it goes up.
yeah,
Like, we're coming around to the same thing
yeah,
again, but it's at a different level this time. We've got it at a new angle and a different view.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, Was there anything that you didn't like about the coaching experience, or were there, I know you mentioned there were times where you're like, like, it wasn't the most intriguing experience for you, but was there any points where you're just like, yeah, I'm not liking this, I'm not liking Andrew, anything that kind of showed up for you in the 2.5 years?
Yeah. Not so much that I wasn't liking you per se. Um, there were some points that I don't like what you brought,
Mm,
because I didn't want to go there.
mm-hmm.
Project design is a real struggle for
Yes.
me. I like to live in the idea and I don't like to bring it down into action. But I know we looked at that at a different way of, it's not the project itself. It's important, right, to have action steps and be taking action, but it's more of, I think you told me to take a look at the way I was being in the project design,
Mm-hmm.
like how that experience was going for me, and looking at that instead, and that was super helpful.
Yeah.
And then looking in different perspectives to kind of bring a little bit of lightness and joy to it,
Yep.
so it didn't feel like a task.
Yeah, and I mean that came. I mean when we did, David, graciously jumped on with me to do like a coaching evaluation with Adam Quiney, and that was really where that got distinguished around project, at least from my
Mm,
memory,
okay.
around your approach to project design, right? And so, just for those who might be listening, I mean, really the idea of project design is that you're using this tool, this structure to create a project in your life, and and we all have a different way of relating to project design. Like for me, I am pretty good at creating the projects. I'm even pretty good at like remembering the projects as I'm in my life, but like I don't update them regularly. I also um yeah, just like that's probably the sticking point, is I don't update it regularly or like pay really like detailed attention to it, right? And I
Yeah.
imagine you're pretty similar in that way,
Yeah.
you know, it, that like that's kind of how it appears for you. But, the other thing that I know that showed up for you as well is like it kind of became another structure in your life where it was like, okay, I don't really enjoy this thing, but
Mm,
I'm going to
have
do
to do
this
it.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Totally did. Totally did. That's the way it felt many, many times. Was okay. I
Yeah.
just got to get this. It's another thing on the list I got to check off.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, which was
absolutely.
important because that's how life was going for me at that time. Was
Yeah,
I'm getting a lot done. I'm checking off a lot on the list, but there wasn't a lot of enjoyment when I was doing it. So
for
bringing
sure.
a little creativity and a little fun to it
Yeah,
made a
absolutely.
difference.
Yeah, and so, you know, we were speaking to this definitely in our last sessions together, and you're telling me about like where you've sort of landed in the experience, but can you speak more to that? Just like what are you noticing about who you're being in the world as a result of these last 2.5 years? Like how are you showing up in the world now?
Yeah. Um, it's dramatically different. And I think we've talked a little bit about being more in flow.
Mm-hmm.
In thinking about that even more, it's almost like a when I was showing up before, it was almost like automatic pilot, but I call it like automatic choice. Like I didn't feel like I was at choice with a lot of the things that I had in my life.
Mm-hmm.
There was just a stimulus and a reaction to it. And that is very, very different now, where I recognize I am more at choice in my life and recognizing, I guess, a better awareness of what I'm saying yes to, what I'm saying no to, and the choices
Mm.
that I'm making. So that is a big difference. Just the empowerment to make the choice, recognizing that there's a choice there, and it's really interesting in life now because now I can see that in so many people where they're living life a certain way and it just seems on like they're on automatic pilot. It's that stimulus
Mm-hmm.
reaction, and they don't even see it.
Mm-hmm.
That and they just don't, and they don't feel it. I'm sure either
Yeah.
that they actually have a choice here and other possible ways of being. And I remember we talked about I took a trip to visit family in Chicago and just seeing all the different people, and it just kind of hit me like all these people in Chicago are living a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
and all of that is possible. Like I could live that
Yeah.
way, and yet I was thinking there's only one way to live, and that is the way that I'm living.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's really opened it up. It's just an awareness of all the different possibilities of the way
Mm-hmm.
I could do life instead of just this one way. Where before I started coaching,
Yes.
it was this one way. That was
Yes.
it. There was no other possibility. And now it's like, yeah. And some of it's ridiculous. There are ridiculous possibilities I would never do, but that's by choice.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah, and I mean, you speak to something really big that shows up in the coaching experience as well. Is that um, I often, sort of refer to it as like there is that sort of black and white aspect to life, right? Or even in another way, I mean, you can go deeper and deeper with this, but like life almost becomes static.
Mm,
Like there's that distinction between like being a static life and let's say like a flexible way of living. we'll use that, right? And that as you're speaking to it, right? Like most people, even you could look at personality, right? You often hear this, like, well, I'm just the way I am, you
Yeah.
know,
Just that
or
kind of person.
just that kind of person, or like this is the pathway that's here for me in life. And then with that, we get very limited in what we can actually create or the power that we have. And so, like you're speaking to, when we can start to step outside of that and see, like, oh no, I can actually like choose how I want to
Mm,
be, or I can, maybe today I'm going to bring more play into my interactions, or more love, for example. It's like that may seem silly or insignificant, but it's like you're choosing how you show up in the world.
yeah.
And then, like you're speaking to, now that starts to show up in all of the ways that we interact with the world. Maybe we change, maybe it's looking at our careers or a relationship or even how we want to live, but even being able to have that like adaptability, that ability to maneuver, it's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And I think it speaks to, what coaching does is coaching the person and not the problem. I came to you with a
Hmm.
specific problem, right? I'm not getting performance results out of my people because I'm being too
Yeah.
nice. That's the problem. But now we've coached the person. That has ripple effects across all aspects of my life, not just work. It's
Yeah.
outside of work as well and all my other relationships.
Absolutely. And that's excellent. And one other place I want to touch on, because I know it's been powerful for you, is like, just how do you notice your communication? How you interact with people in the world. I mean, again, I definitely have a sense of who you were, before the coaching and that, but like, just what are you even noticing are the differences between in your interactions now?
Yeah, that's a difficult one, right? When I first came, I thought, I can't be nice. I got to be more mean. And I don't think that those interactions have shifted. I don't think I've been more mean per se, but I think I discovered that uh, I'm much more in tuned to the person. That's one
Mm,
big thing. Like before, I didn't realize how distracted I was with my own thoughts, etc., thinking at a lower level, not a higher level. Um, and so now I'm much more in tuned to people, and I'm much more in a very caring and open way, have a different ability to speak to what I see. And I
mm,
think that's what I was missing
mhm.
before. Is like I wasn't verbalized what I'd see. Number one, probably because I'm not saying it. Number two, I didn't want the ramifications of that if they got upset with me for saying what it is. But those two things have shifted it dramatically for me.
Mm. Mhm. Absolutely. I mean, um, just the ability to like sort of sense, like the two pieces that you speak to, right? Like the one, the willingness to engage in sort of a deeper conversation too.
Yeah.
Just that willingness that's there. That's huge because that in itself creates authentic connection. And then that piece that you're speaking to is like that attunement, that ability to sense like how is this person interacting with me? Oh, this person, gave me a dirty look, or but being able to actually like sense that and potentially speak to it, potentially not, but even like you're saying, just being in this space where you're just free. You're free to be as a
Mm.
human being in your interactions with other human beings. It's
Yeah, much more authentic and
powerful.
just open.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, thanks for speaking to it. So what, as we start to sort of wind down here for today, like what is next for you? What do as you look at the life to come, what is it that you really see is meaningful for you and what you want to create?
Yeah. Yeah, that was a big part of coaching as well. Again, I came with a specific problem, but we opened that up and we did a lot of work around purpose. Like, what is my purpose? And
Hmm.
really looking at, what is that line that's gone through my life and what that purpose is. And we've been able to define that to through all my different careers and all my different interactions, like what is there and
Mm,
what do I want to bring forward? And it's really helping others. I've always had a drive to help others have a really fulfilling life, have a full life. I used to do that through psychology, and now I do that through finance. But I've done that through mentoring and all these different things. And so we were able to identify like that. I want to make coaching a career,
hmm.
something I've been doing in the executive world,
Yes, you
leading
have.
teams, but really bringing that forward and really helping people have a fulfilling life, a really enjoyable, fun, full life for themselves. Because there just isn't a greater gift, I think, that you can help people is go for that and get that life that they really, really, really want.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I'm currently enrolled in a coaching program. You brought that up too, saying, "Hey, with your interest and your passion, we explored purpose," and so I'm going for it. Like
Yes.
getting into a coaching program and going forward and coaching a few people and still continuing to coach on the executive space with my people. And yeah, it's been really cool.
How's that experience been with the coaching program? Even like, what are some of the differences that you've noticed between like some of the work that we did and what are you experiencing now in this program?
Yeah, a lot of it is similar. Like it's funny as you go through it and you recognize like, okay, here is the structure, et cetera, because it is an ICF certified program. Yeah, how coaching calls go, what that structure is, et cetera. There's a lot there. I just started it like 4 weeks ago,
Hmm.
so more to come on what that looks like and the differences. Um, I chose a path for me,
Hmm.
which is a Christian based coaching company, so that's a little bit different in going through that, but very very similar, and it's really cool just to connect with other people that have that same passion and purpose
Yes.
that I have. I think it just makes for really interesting people when there's other people out there like you that are like, hey, I want to make this my purpose to help other people achieve their vision and have a fulfilling life. It's kind of cool to be around a lot of people like that.
Yeah, absolutely. You find it's like it's finding the tribe, right?
Yeah,
You finding the people who, you know, just there's that commonality, but also like that desire to mastery. That's the experience
mm,
that I get from it, right? Is that you you just have individuals who, one, they all have this sort of understanding of communication and the deeper levels of connection, but then like there is that sort of desire to really be masterful in this art, this type of work, to really show up best for people. So that's awesome. Now,
yeah.
you spoke about like being of service to others, like you see that as a path for the
Mm.
future. What about for yourself? Like, even as you look at like, what is the life that you want to live? As you're getting closer to retirement and what's beyond that. Like, just anything that you see for yourself, anything that's there for you.
Yeah, I think the big thing is being of service, right? Always being productive and being of service and helping other people. Um, Other things within that vision are travel, just a
Hmm.
lot more travel. I'd love to see other countries and begin to explore. And I think deeper connection with people, which I love what coaching does because it just helps you get some skills and going through the process and learning about yourself and how to connect, but also going through the coaching program and learning how to connect more deeply because I really enjoy connection with other people
Hmm.
and I'm super curious with people, so I don't want that to ever stop as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thanks for sharing. And um, yeah, is there anything else that you just want to share about your experience, or anything else you'd want to let people know about?
Um, we touched on a lot, but I know we talked a little bit about, that flow as we've gone. And I'm glad that I stuck with it. And I know one of the things we talked about with you've got a coach and coaches should have coaches. And I love that aspect of it
Hmm.
because I do look back now and worry like, boy, if I had quit early when I hit that lull, I would have missed so many great breakthroughs.
Hmm.
because once that lull was there, right, that's when the big jumps started. A lot of little jumps. It's almost like working out, right? Your first few months, you start losing weight. You can see your body changes. You're like, yeah, this is
Hmm.
really cool. But then you hit that plateau. But after that plateau, it's going to be like this huge jump. It was interesting how this kind of followed that whole path of we hit a plateau, but we continued to work through it, and then boom, we had this great thing. So that was really cool about the process. Was the big
Yeah.
leaps that seemed to come after these really difficult periods, right? Wasn't
I'm
engaged. Didn't
I'm
feel
looking
engaged.
I'm looking forward to that big leap in the health and fitness. I'm expecting something big here, David. So I'm coming to you if it doesn't come. But
Well, you got youth on your side.
yes, yes, I still have it. I still have it. I'm fortunate that started making some changes. But no, that's excellent. And um, yeah, and I mean that's it's really something, holding that space as a coach when, again, like as you spoke to, like as a coach, you should have an awareness of that, right? When your
Yeah.
client is in what we call like a breakdown, or
Mm.
you could call it a number of things, right? But like that's that space to really hold, because it's when an individual is like creating wins, and they're really making progress in the experience, it's like, well, it's
Yeah.
kind of easy to like, I guess in a sense, like take not take credit, but like there's sort of like, oh, okay, like this is the value of coaching here. But
Yeah.
when that's the real work, is when your client is going through a struggle, or they're in this period where they're like, yeah, I'm not that interested, and really holding the space for, really, this is still a model of life, right? This is where that breakthrough is going to be for you. And so I agree. Like, I really acknowledge you for staying with it. And again, like from my perspective of it, it was really that period between like, you know, probably like the midway point of our second round of coaching before you re-enrolled into like the third round, right? Like there was that period
Yeah.
there that, it was prevalent. And then, it required something to, we had some conversations, but really looking at like, hey, what would it actually mean for you to come back for a second year, or two, the third round of coaching, right? And that's the beauty of it, is like that was created. It wasn't like, hey, here's a good thing, come back to it. It's like, no, what are we actually playing for? What are we
Yeah.
actually playing for on this other side of the breakdown that you experience?
That's a good point. Yeah. And there were a lot more breakdowns in that second half too.
Yeah.
Right, there was a lot more. Nope, not even moving forward in that area. Not going to do it. Not going for that. Not good. But
Yeah.
important, because that's
Yeah.
where it got tough. Like it was tough moving forward and changing and
Yeah.
keeping going. But
Absolutely. Well, thanks for sharing. And
that
anything you want to share with people who might be watching this sooner, or even in the future, in terms of like people potentially wanted to reach out to you, or find out more about like what you're up to?
Yeah, more to come as I continue to develop the websites, etc. But you can find me on Instagram, and York Life Coaching is probably the best way to reach me. Facebook as well.
Nice. Any
Yeah,
and do you have well, I won't even go down that route because it could change. But so, okay, so Instagram, Facebook are sort of the best ways to reach you. I'll make
best
sure
ways right now to reach me.
I'll put those in the contact as well, and then just update me in the future too if you want me to add
Cool.
more links to it. Well, really, thanks for sharing, and really just bringing your experience, here. It's cool to see, right? I mean, just to see, again, we did an interview back at like the 6 month mark. We did
Mm,
an interview at, the year 1.5 mark, and here we are at 2.5. And so, yeah, awesome stuff. And I want to give you some acknowledgement as well, just for how for you showing up in this experience, because, again, there's so many pieces to acknowledge you for, right? I mean, again, I've probably acknowledged you for this a few times, but really just speaking to like your resilience, your
mm,
ability to stay with things even when it's uncomfortable, or you're not getting the results. Like, you've got that ability to just like follow through, follow
Mm,
through and create to the other side. And I really just acknowledge you for that, because it is a real gift. And you see it in multiple areas of your life where you really show up that way. And the beauty of that is, as you're speaking to now, there's more of a lightness. There's more, just playfulness in this, or like, just that type of energy that you're bringing to the space.
yeah.
I also really acknowledge you for the love and connection that you bring to the world, because I still remember, even early on in our experience when we started doing some work around essence, just how that opened up, your connection to humanity from that place, from going to
Mm,
the restaurant to being with your coworkers. Like, it was such a magical moment. And then just to see you continue to deepen in that, over the year. And but even the breadth of how you were being that individual, and it's no surprise that this is now going to show up as you take on, again, you've already been doing coaching work. And the coaching work is only going to continue to expand, right? And so that
yeah.
being, it's just magical. So really, thank you for such an amazing experience. And yeah, it's been awesome to work with you.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you for the acknowledgement. I
No problem.
appreciate it.
No
Yeah.
problem.
It's been fun, man. What a journey.
Yes. So you're gonna sign up for another 2.5 years?
In a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know about 2.5. 2.5 years? Can you handle me for another 2.5 years, Andrew?
We'll see. We'd have to just keep, raising the bar, or doing something. We'll do something different with it. But
I remember when
uh,
we started, you had a full head of hair. It's
yeah, right.
amazing.
No, that hasn't changed.
Made it
That
all
hasn't
fall
changed.
out.
That's funny. That's funny. That's awesome. All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Again, if you are interested to have a conversation with David, I'll make sure to put in the Instagram link and Facebook as well. And yeah, please feel free to reach out. He is an awesome
Yeah.
guy. He holds such a great space for coaching. Um, I said this to you before, David. I mean, I know that you've been on this journey of looking at the ICF certification and
Mm.
deepening those skills, but it's like you already have the gift, and so this is just the opportunity here, to just keep refining. And whoever gets to work with you, it's going to be just a great experience for them. So awesome
Awesome.
stuff.
Thank you.
All right, thanks everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.
Thanks.